Hello and welcome to Splotch Code. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a basic platform game. We're going to keep it quite simple in this one with just a few different levels and a few things to do. But once you've got the hang of this one, then you can move on to some other videos that show you how to add in some extra cool features and take your games on to the next level. So let's get started. What we want to do first is we're going to build some ground. We want to have some ground that's going to sit along the bottom of our screen here. So we're going to do that by creating a sprite. So we go down to our sprites and we're going to paint our own sprite. Now what we want to do is we're going to change the colour because I think we'll usually find that we want ground to be something like a greeny sort of colour. So maybe just keep until we get the right. That's starting to look pretty good. Maybe a little bit darker. Perfect. There we go. So that's the fill we're going to use. We'll then go and click on the little rectangle and we're going to create the rectangle down on the bottom. Now you'll see when it shows on the screen over here, it's not quite the right size. So the way to make it bigger is we just move it slightly and we make it bigger than it needs to be there and let's keep pulling it until it's the right size. Now if we pull it down to the bottom, we can try to get it to fit right sitting along the bottom. There we go. So that's where our ground. Okay, so let's go back over to our code. What we will do though is instead of calling it sprite2, we're going to call it ground because that'll make it easier when we're writing our different commands. So we'll call that ground. Excellent. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our cat. The cat is the sprite we're going to use, but I'm going to make him a little bit smaller because he's a little bit big right now. So I'm going to try having him in about a 60 size. Yeah, that's pretty good. Just pop him over here. Okay, so if this is a platform game, we need some platforms. So let's go and build some platforms. So once again, we can go and we can paint our own sprites to do that. So I'm going to go in and this time instead of green, we're going to make them blue. So that's blue there. That looks pretty good colour. Okay. Again, we're going to use the rectangle. And I just need to click my mouse and hold it down and drag until it's about the right size. So that looks pretty good. That's my platform there. Or maybe we'll make it a little bit smaller. Let's have a look. A little bit smaller again. There we go. That looks pretty good. You can make them whichever size you like. Okay, so once again, let's not call this sprite2. Let's call this platform 1 because we're going to have a few different platforms. Okay, what we're going to then do is we're going to create some code for this platform. So we're going to tell it where we want it to be. When we click the green flag, where do we want the platform to be sitting on our screen? So let's go to events and find our when green flag is clicked. And then we're going to get a go to. And we're going to put that there. And we're going to say we want the platform to go to. How about we say X15 and Y minus 60. Click the green flag and have a look where that is. Okay, so that's pretty good, quite close to the ground. He can jump up onto that one. Right, well, one platform isn't enough for our game, so let's make another one. What we can do is we can just duplicate this one we've already done. But before that, I'm just going to add one extra feature in. I'm going to have the platform show at the start to make sure it's always on the screen. There we go, that's great. So now let's duplicate this. So you just right click on it and you hit duplicate and you'll see now we've got a platform 2, exactly the same. And it's actually got the same code. So you see platform 1 has this code, platform 2 has this code as well. which is great, but we want to have some different coordinates of where we want this platform to be sitting. So for this platform, let's make it this one, when the green flag is clicked, is going to go to 165 by 30. Okay, let's have a look. There's 2 platforms there. Excellent. Now I'm going to create a third platform as well. So let's duplicate again. So right click, hit duplicate, and there's platform 3. Now it's got this code here. What I'm actually going to do is I'm not going to use that code. I might just pop that over the side for there. For this one, when we click the green flag, I actually want to hide this one because I'm going to use this in a different level, not in our first level. So I only want 2 platforms in our level 1, and but the third one will be there ready to go for the next one. So let's have a look. When I click the green flag, we have 2 levels there. Excellent. Right, so we've got our platform set up. Now we're going to need something that we're going to be trying to get to that lets us get to the next level. So I'm going to go and choose another sprite to use for that. Now you could choose anything you like. I'm going to use the star. Great, there's my star. Excellent. All right, so we'll put some code on that star and we'll go and say, when the green flag is clicked, we want the star to show. So we'll make sure that it's showing. And we'll come back to this. What we need to do, we'll come back and put some code in for a level 2 star later. But for the level 1, we're going to put some instructions in of what we want it to, where we want it to be. So what we'll use is we'll use an if statement, and we'll say if it is equal to level 1. Now we haven't created our levels yet, so we need to go and create a variable. So we go to our variables, we're going to create one new variable equals level. And so our level will show up here. So when we want this to say when our level 1, the star will be in one spot, and then when we're on another level, it'll go in a different spot. So right now we're doing the level 1. So we'll say when it's equal to level 1. So we need an operator with an equal sign. That's this one here. We'll put that there. And we'll go to our variables and we'll choose our level. And when we say when our level is equal to 1, then we want the star to go to a particular spot. So again, we'll go over to motion, we'll pick the go to, and we will say that we want it to go to 205 and 132. Okay. What we need to do now is we need to set level 1 to be at the start. So let's do that now. We're going to go to our events. We click when the green flag is clicked, and our variables, we will say set our level to be 1. Okay, let's have a look how that looks. There we go. So the start of our game, we've got it being level 1. And our star moves up to this position that I've asked it to sit at the start, which is right up this top corner, being 205 and 132 for the Y coordinate. Great. So that's our game set up for our level 1. Now we need to make our cat able to move so he can get up to that star. So, of course, that code needs to go against sprite number 1, which is our cat. So when we start the game, we need to have an event, as always. So we'll use when the green flag is clicked. We want him to be able to move left and right across the screen. And so what we need to do first, as you've probably seen in a lot of our other videos, is we need to just set his rotation style. And we usually do this right up front, right at the start. So we set his rotation style to left or right instead of being all around, because we don't want him actually turning upside down. So that's in place. Now we want him to start in a particular spot as well. The best thing is to have him start just slightly above the ground. I'll explain that a little bit later on. So what we'll do is I'm going to make him negative 200, so he's right over towards the left of the screen, near where he is now. And I'm going to say negative 60, so he's just a bit above the ground, and that will be where he starts. Excellent. Okay, we also want to make sure that when we start the game, he's pointing to the right, so pointing in the direction of 90. So we pop that one in place there. So that kind of gets him set up, all ready to move. Now we're going to work out how to get him moving. We need to create some variables for our moving part. So the first variable we need, we'll go to variables, and I'm going to click make a variable, and I'm going to create one called speed. Now this will be familiar if you've watched our video on the gravity, which is a separate video just covering gravity and how you get your characters to be able to jump and using gravity to fall back down. So we don't actually want our speed to sit up here, so I'm just going to click that off. We'll leave that to just have the level there. Right, so we've created a new variable. We're now going to put some control in place that says if we hit the right arrow, because that's how we're going to get him to move. Now, hitting the right key is under our sensing, so we'll pull across that key, and instead of space, we'll have the right arrow. So when the right arrow key is pressed, then what do we want him to do? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get him to point in 90 degrees, and I'm then going to set the speed. So I'm going to say change the speed by 1. And so that'll get him moving along to the right for us. Now, obviously, we need to also tell it how we're going to move to the left. So again, we need another if statement. And we will have, this time it will be when the left arrow key is pressed. We want him, so we'll go back to motion. This time we want him to face the other direction. So we go minus 90 in this case. And that will turn him around and face him towards the left. Then we need to go again and get our change of our variable and change our speed. And this time we need it to be minus 1. Because he's going to get him moving to the left. Great. So he'll be facing to the left and moving to the left when we hit the left arrow, or facing to the right and moving to the right when we move the right arrow, which is exactly what we want. Okay, so that tells him the direction and the speed to work with, but we need him to actually move now. So to actually move, we go to the motion, and we say change X by, because that's where he's actually going to move the X position across the screen. And change X by the variable speed that we've created. And that will then move him based on the speed. And as I hit the arrow key, he'll move and keep moving if I keep my arrow key down, or he'll stop if I stop pressing that. We, of course, want all of this code to do with the left and right arrows and the moving to be sitting within a forever loop, because we want that to happen all the way through the game. So let's go and get a forever loop, and we're going to tuck that all the way around all of that code there. Great. So let's have a look now what happens if I hit my arrow. Now you'll see he gets a little bit out of control. He gets a bit fast, and he's also running through a platform. So there's a little trick bit of code that we can do to help with that. So let's put that in place now. So what we want to do, after our change x by speed, we need to put in an if then else statement. So let's pull one of those over and let's move down a little bit so we can see what we're doing here. Right. We want to say if he's touching the ground or any of our platforms, then we want something slightly different to happen. So to do that, we're going to go to our sensing and we're going to get a touching and change that to ground. We're also going to get a touching for platform 1 and we can get a touching for platform 2 and a touching for platform 3. Now we want to say if he's touching any of those things, we want something to happen. So to do that, we can use an operator. If we go to our operators, you'll see we've got one that's called an OR. If I just pop this here, we can say touching the ground or he's going, but we've still got 3 to do. So what we'll do is we'll put another OR in. And now there's room for 2, so we need 1 more. We pop that on the end there, and you'll see now we've got room to put all of these in. So platform 1, platform 2, and platform 3. Okay, and now I'm going to pick up that whole thing and move it up into our main part of our code there. Excellent. So if he's touching the ground or any of our platforms, even platform 3 that we haven't got there yet, but that we will use that later on, then something's going to happen. Now that something is we're going to change the speed from what was set above here. So we'd go change speed to, we need an operator here. We're going to use our multiplying one. And so we're going to change the speed by our speed that we've currently got times by -1. And so that'll basically slow him down. And then we're going to we're going to set our speed to 0. So once that's happened, we'll then set the speed to 0, which will stop him. So it'll slow him down and then it will stop him. So that will stop him from moving back and forward too quickly. In our else section, we want to choose another set, and we're going to say set the speed to, and we need another operator with our multiplier again. So same one we used before. And once again, we need to go and get our speed to pop in one side, and it's the speed times by 0.8. So a bit less than 0. And that should do the trick for us now. So let's have a look if we see what we can do with him now. It slows him down so he's not totally out of control. He's still getting stuck on the platform, but we'll fix that one in a minute. But he's not going out of control. He was slower across the platform, but he's not out of control now. Right, so our next bit of code we need to do is to help him with his jumping. So we need to create a new variable. So we're on the variable screen already. We're going to create one called jump. Jump. Right. Again, we don't want that to appear at the top of our screen up there, so we'll just go and unclick that. We only want the level to be there. So we now are going to get it. So when we press the up arrow key, it will get him to jump. So we want to change the Y coordinate in this case, because that will put him up into the air. So we want to go change, and we'll pop it in after that else. Change the y by our new variable called jump. Okay. Then we need to put in another if statement, and we need this time we again need an if else. So we're going to pop that down in there. Let's have a look. Right, so we've got our change by y, and now we actually want this little bit of code that we created before, this one here. If I just pull that out, the one with the this, or this, or this, I'm going to duplicate that because that's the one I want again. So rather than having to create it again, I can do that. And then I just pop that one back into place there. Okay. So if he's touching the ground, then I need to change his jump by -1, which basically means he stops jumping. When he hits the ground, he stops jumping. Or if he jumps up into a platform above him. So we're going to, if he's touching the ground, we're going to change his y by, and again we're going to need one of these operators to say his jump by something. So let's go and get jump. Change jump by -1. So that'll get him to stop when he reaches the bottom. So he jumps up and then he comes back down, and when he hits the ground or a platform, he'll stop and be sitting on those. What we need to do though is we need to make it so he can't keep jumping. So if I hit the arrow key and then I keep hitting the arrow key, we don't want him to just keep going up and up and up into the air. We need it to be out, he can only jump once. You don't want to have a double jump. So the way we do that is we actually create another variable, and we'll call that one jump lock. And that creates a lock. Once he's jumped, he can't jump straight away again. He has to come back down before he can go again. And so what we will do is we will put that in place in our code. Now he's got him jumping there. We then actually need to stop him from jumping and set his jump to 0 after there as well. Then we need to put an if statement in here. So this is where it tells it, if I'm already jumping, don't let me jump again. So we'll go to our operators and we will get an equal to. That's this one here, and we'll put that there. And we will get go to our variables and we'll get our jump lock one, and we'll say if our jump lock is equal to 0. So we haven't jumped yet. Then, if my up arrow key is pressed, so another if statement into there, go to my sensing, find my key, and tell it that I want an up arrow key. So, if my arrow key is pressed, then we are going to set our jump to 15, and so that'll let him jump up 15 coordinates up each time I hit my arrow key. But when I do it, I also want to set my jump lock to 1. So by doing that, I've jumped up, it sets my jump lock to 1, which means then I can't jump again because this code here stops me, because it only works if my jump lock was 0. Once it's anything other than 0, my up arrow key won't let me jump anymore. Okay, so we've got our jump lock in place, but now we need to tell it what else is to happen. So we've got an else spot here we still need to get filled in. So we've got to work out what needs to go there. So in this case, we need to say change my jump. So and we're changing our jump by -1. So that means he comes back down. So after the arrow key, he goes up. As soon as that stops, as soon as that finishes, he comes back down. So essentially that creates our gravity by having that jump at -1. Means he's coming back down, which shows his gravity bringing him back down. But then once he's back down, we want to set the jump lock back to 0, because that means he can jump again. So once he's hit the ground or a platform, he can jump again. So by setting our jump lock back to 0, once he's hit the ground or a platform, he can go again. Okay, so that puts in place all his ability to jump. So shall we have a look at how that works? If I click my green flag, he starts, and now you see he automatically came down to the ground. And now I can run along, and then I can hit my arrow key, my up arrow key to jump. If I step off the platform, he'll fall back down. Step off, he'll fall back down because he's no longer standing on the ground or a platform. So I can run along by using my right arrow, keep running, and then he'll fall to the ground because he's no longer on a platform. So he only stays up there when he's got something to stand on. Okay. Now, that's all good, but there is a little trick when you're using a character like this sprite we have here with a cat. Because you see how he's got his little whiskers that stick out here and a little tail? What can happen if you jump at exactly the wrong spot? You can actually get it so he gets sort of stuck like that on a platform. So he's he's touching it so that that's where the code comes in and says, well, the cat is touching because just his whiskers are touching. But it doesn't work very well for us. So there's a little trick we can use to make it so those little bits that hang off the side of our character, like the whiskers and the tail, won't affect when he's touching something. And that is called using a hitbox. So what we need to do is we go for the cat, so we're in our cat here, we're going to go over to our costumes. And you see we've got a costume 1 and a costume 2. We're only using costume 1 for this one right now. I'm actually going to duplicate, by right-clicking, I'm going to duplicate my costume. And I'm going to rename costume 3 to be Hitbox. And that's a name that's used in a lot of different encoding. It's quite a good name to understand what it does. We're going to move that and pop that up the top now. So we've got our hitbox here. What we now do is we're going to create a shape that sits around the main part of the cat to say this is the bit that we want to be the part that will hit when it hits the platform, it will actually jump onto it. So the whiskers and the tail and things don't count. So what we can do is we actually put a box around. Now it doesn't really matter what colour it is because we're not actually going to see that colour, but I will just change it just so that it's not the blue like our platform. So I'll just make it a pink one. I'll make sure I'm on that rectangle there, and I'm just going to go and put it around him like this. So it just gets the main part of the character, not all the little extra bits that are hanging off the side. And you can just check to make sure you're just fitting him right like that. There we go. We don't want to go too far. Okay. You see his whiskers are just starting to poke out. I might just go to there. That might work. Just catch his on there. So this part of the cat, if it touches the platform, it will do the code that we need it to do when it's on the platform. But these bits are kind of not going to matter if they touch now. So what we can then do is we can go and actually delete these other bits. So you see if I now go to this the arrow here, the select, and if I click on there, you'll see there's the cat's head. And I can actually just hit my delete key now, and that goes. I'll do the same for his tail. I'll do the same for that foot. And there's a little bit I can see there of an arm sticking out. There we go. So now it's only that sort of shape, that part of the cat that will work, that will activate the code to do with touching the platform. So what we need to do, we now need to put some code in for our cat to tell it how to use this hitbox. So I'll go over to code. What I want to do is I'm going to go right up to the top, and I'm going to put a little bit of code to do with what costume I want him to be. So if we go to looks, you remember there's a switch costume section. So I'm going to say that we want to switch costume, and I'm going to do that inside the forever loop just before the arrow keys. So it's going to be doing every time he moves, it's going to be looking at the costume. And I'll change that to be hitbox. So we'll switch to a hitbox, and then he'll be moving using my arrow keys. But then at the end of that, we need to actually switch him back to costume 1. So now we'll go down and we'll go switch costume 2. And we'll slot that one in right down the bottom, being the last thing, and we'll change that to costume 1. So that'll move him back to being the costume that we've had him on before. So we can just have a look at what that will look like now. And what we'll do is we'll also make sure, just before we do that, that he starts on costume 1. So at the start of the game, he's using costume 1. So let's go and pop that in right at the start up here. And we'll say he's on costume 1 at the start. As he starts to move, it has this hitbox works, but you won't actually see it because it will flip back each time before you even get a chance to see it. It's moved. So let's have a look now at how that works. So if we have a look, I can see I can still get caught if I get my whole body up, but if I just jump with just the whiskers in line, they won't get caught, whereas they might have before. That would have caught the whiskers and he would have been stuck up in the air even though he wasn't really touching. So that's the trick that you can use when you're making games to actually stop when you've got a funny shaped character that'll allow you to actually have him not get stuck. Another way to do it is to just use something, a ball or a cube or something that doesn't have those bits sticking out. But I like having a character like a cat because I think it's a lot more fun than just having a ball that rolls around. Right. So that is going to get us so we can jump up, and we're going to touch our star, and we want that to take us to the next level. So we need to put some code in now to tell what to do when we touch the star. So of course we're going to go over to our star now, and we're going to put some extra code in. So at the moment it says all we've got is telling the star to show to go to level 1. If it's level 1, if our thing up here is level 1, then it goes and sits in a particular spot, which is right up in this corner. So what we now need to do is we need to tell it, well, what does it do when it's touched? Well, of course, we need to put a control in that says if it is touched. So we'll grab that, and then we'll go to our sensing, and we will choose touching, and we'll say if he's touching our sprite. So the star is being touched by the sprite. Then what do we want to happen? Well, we want to actually broadcast a message to say that it's been hit. So we're going to go and pick out a broadcast and pop that there, and we'll create a new message, and we're going to call that message next level. So it's telling it to go on to the next level. Okay, and so what we'll do is we're going to go and pop that code in just there. So if we're on level 1, show it here, have the sprite being touched, it will give out this message. When it then broadcasts a message, we need some things to actually change. So we're going to change the position of the star and of the platforms. So let's have a look now at where we want our star to sit. So what I'm going to do now, so we had an if we're at level equals 1, then it does this. Now the first thing we need to happen is we need to actually update the level. So at the moment we've set it to level 1. We need to say when I receive a message that next level, then we need to change the level. We need to change level by 1, and that means my level will go from 1, we'll go up by 1 to 2. Whilst I'm here, I'm just going to take that jump block off that we've got there. Okay, so that has got the message now that the score has gone up, the level has gone up to 2. We can then write some code here to tell it where do we want the star to be when the level equals 2. So we'll put another if in. Going to go and get another operator and say equals, and we've got our variable called level again. Bring that over, and when level equals 2, then what do we want to happen? Well, we want the star to go and be in a different spot. So I'm going to get the go to, and I'm going to say this time I want the star to be in quite a different spot. It's kind of going to be the opposite top corner. So I'll change my variables there. So when we go to level 2, the star is going to move. Then we're going to go and change where the 2 platforms sit and also bring in our 3rd platform. So let's go over to platform 1. So we've got platform 1, when we start the game, it's going to sit in this position here. What we need it to do is we need it to now, when it receives a message to say that we're moving to the next level, it's going to move. So we go and see when I receive next level, it's already set to the right thing. First thing I'm going to do is it's going to hide the platform just for a fraction of a second. So it will hide, it'll wait, so we'll go and get a wait. And like I said, it's only going to be a tiny bit. It's just so it kind of just disappears and then reappears somewhere else. And then it's going to go to a new position. Now, that position I'm going to set is -46 and -75. Now, you're just going to have to play around with where you want your platforms to be. By moving them, you can pick them up and move them around and see where you want them to be to create a different sort of jump, different jumps, different positions that you want them to be in. So you'll see now I have told it to go to this position here. And then I'd hidden it here, so of course I just need to show it in this new spot. So when the green flag is clicked to start the game, it'll be here. When we move to level 2, it'll be sitting in a different spot. So I've done that for platform 1. I need to do the same thing for platform 2. So what I'm going to do, rather than do that all over again, I'm going to pick this code up and I'm going to drag it over, have it over the top of number platform 2, and you'll see the code is still on platform 1, but it's also in platform 2 as well. So it's a good way of being able to copy it. But this time I need to put some different coordinates. So I want platform 2 to be at 165 and -4. So let's have a look. That'll be sitting there. So now we want to do something with platform 3. Now you'll remember platform 3 is hidden in level 1 when we're inside level 1. So what we need to do now is we need to give it the message that we're now on to level 2 in the next level. I'm going to wait again just so that it comes up at the same time that the others appear. So that was 0.2 seconds. So get that message that we've hit the star, wait 2 seconds, and then I'm going to go to the position that I want it to go to, which for this one will be 29 and 100. And then I'm going to show, because right now it's hidden, and there we go. And so then platform 3 will come in right up the top up here. So all of our platforms will have moved. So platform 1 will start there, and in level 2 it's just moved a little bit. Platform 2 is moved a bit, and platform 3 wasn't there, and now it is there. So now we've got our platforms each appearing in different places for level 1 versus level 2, and our star appearing in a different place. So I'm just going to go back over to the star and have a look at the code there where we've got it saying if it's level 1 then do this, if it's level 2 do that. The only thing I need to do is I do need to add a forever loop in so that it knows to keep looking for whether I'm level 1 or level 2 and broadcasting the message when I need to. So let's have a look now. This should get us so we can go through from level 1 to level 2 and play the game. So let's have a look at what we've got. So we've got our cat starting out. I jump up and he jumps up and he touches. And so now we're on level 2. You'll see our scores here. And I'm going to jump. I need to jump up and I can get to that star. So we're now going to write the code to tell it what to do when the cat touches the star in level 2. So if we go back to our star, we'll see we've got here, if it's level 2, the star is to appear in this particular spot. But we need to actually tell it what to do as well as when it touches the star at level 2. So we're going to need another if statement in here. And that'll go just in there. And then we'll get a sensing one that says, if the star is touching the cat, then what do we want to do? We want to broadcast a message. Now this message is going to be not next level, but a new one, which we'll just call win. Now, if you were going on to the next level, you might make it go to level 3 or something like that. But we're going to stop at this point. So broadcasting win. Actually, we don't want the win and wait. We want just broadcast. So let's go there. That's better. Broadcast win. So we'll broadcast our win to tell, and we can tell all the other sprites what we want them to do when we've won the game, and we can create a winning screen. So the first thing I'm going to do is, after we've broadcast the win here, I'm going to hide the star like that. There we go. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to hide the platforms when that happens too. So we'll go over to our platform and we're going to get a when I receive broadcast of win, we want to hide. Now we want the same code on each of the other 2 platforms. So if I drag that and wait till it kind of hover it over platform 2, you'll see it's in platform 1. Oh, it's copied, it's just sitting just there. So there we go. It's also in platform 2. And I'm going to copy it again to platform 3. So platform 3 has now got that code as well. So all of those things are going to hide when I get to that finish level 2. So what we're going to do now is we're going to change the background. So if we go back to our star and we'll say, after it broadcasts that message, the star is going to hide and we're going to switch the backdrop and we're going to have a different backdrop. So I'm going to pull this one down, this one that says switch backdrop to, and pop that there. Now we're going to go and have a look at our backdrops. So at the moment, if I go to the stage, you'll see we have one backdrop, and I'm going to call that the white screen. Okay. I'm going to create another backdrop. So I'll click on paint, and I'm creating one. I'm going to call this one win. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put some text on it. So you'll see this little text, the little T here for text. I click on that. It doesn't matter which colour, you can choose your own. I think I will just use the black one, so that's fine. And I just click into anywhere on here and I can now type you win. Now you could choose what font you want. I've got mine set on Pixel, but you can choose based on here, you can choose anything you like. I like Pixel for these type of ones. Then you can make it big. You can also move it so it's sitting in the middle of your screen. You want to move it, so I'll just hit select and then I can move it, try and get it sort of sitting right in the middle like that. And so that's what we want to appear when we've finished level 2. So if we go back over to the code now for the star, and we can go back up here, over here, with the code on the star, you'll see we've said switch backdrop to. Well, when we've broadcast win, we want to switch to win. So the only other thing we need to do is, of course, we need to tell it to start on the white background. So we'll just pop that little bit of code in right up the top here and say, so at the start of the game, we start on the white one, and then we're going to move at the end, it'll be on the win. Now there's only one little other thing that I'm going to do, and that is I'm going to put a little bit of code in to tell the cat where to start at level 2, because you'll notice he started where he finished level 1. So I'm just going to go back into the cat. I'm going to get a message here to say broadcast when I receive next level that we're going to go to, and I'm going to put him in a different position. So last time he started in this bottom left hand corner. Next one, I think I might get him to start at about there. So that is the position he's in there is 195, we can see that down here, and 88. So negative 88. So that's where I want him to start that particular level. So he starts level 1 here, he starts level 2 there. Okay, I think that's everything now. So shall we have a look at how this works? So we've got our cat, he's on level 1, jump up, go up. Okay, we're on level 2 now, so we need to jump up. And we're going to touch the star and you win. All right, so that shows you a really basic platform game. But once you've got the hang of some of those things and how to have your character moving and having some gravity, so when he steps off the platform, he falls to the ground, and have it so you can have platforms that move for different levels. They're sitting in different places. There's so many more things you can do. So we've got some other videos that show you some of the other features you can add in, like having bouncy trampoline type areas or lava that you've got to jump over, and pointy sticks and things that can injure you. So those sort of things you can add in. This gives you the basics, and then you can try doing lots of different things, trying different characters and use as many levels as you like. So go and have a go creating this one, and then we'll see you back at Splotch Code to look at some of the other videos that add some more really cool things to your platform games. Thanks for watching Splotch Code.